This is just a quick video to explain some of the drainage issues on this allotment plot. This is what I call the bee plot. You've got the apiary next door, and there's the little bees in there that kind of like stinging me during spring and summer. But problem with this plot, it's at the bottom of the hill, so you can see the hill sloping up there. It's kind of like a little stream here, runs along past the apiary, and then there's a little pond there, and then it overflows through a drainage pipe. I imagine the drainage pipe's probably blocked to the other end of that, so you get all this standing water. So what I'd like to show you, I don't know how well this is going to show up, but this is the level of the allotment when I took it on. And then over where the compost bins are, these are actually raised up on a couple of pallets. The pallets are settled a little bit, but there's quite a large amount of wood chip Christmas tree trunks, Christmas tree branches. I've added that to the paths, and it's a bit of a mess. It's obviously work in progress at the moment this time of year, but you can see this is what I call my E-shaped bed. It looks like a capital letter E, and if you can just see, there's a path here and a path here. These have got my balam crates, they're my worm beds. And the far one there, I've actually raised that up another 4 inches with lots of fir tree trunks underneath. I've got some more there, and I'm going to raise this one here as well. So that's got balam crates in it. But what I've done with this bed is I've actually raised up the scaffold boards another 200 millimeters and increased the depth of organic matter on the paths another 200 mil as well. So if you can see here, this is a level where the gate is on the apiary, and then it's built up with a massive mound of logs, wood chip and scaffold boards and off-cut timber. So this will actually, it's kind of like a big kind of in situ compost bin. These are pallet collar beds here, and I've actually raised those up on Euro pallets as well. Filled that up with old apple tree branches, and then at the bottom they're stacked too high. The bottom pallet collar has actually got more fir tree branches in there. So it's basically just really adding organic matter just to build depth of soil and raise the plot above the kind of water table. So what I'd like to show, that one path is topped up right to the top of the scaffold boards, and this one here, this bed, I'm going to raise this up with scaffold board timber as well. It's a bit sunny, so I'm looking into the sun, but I've got an old deck from home. I just use reclaimed materials a lot, and what I quite like about this is the timber isn't treated, and it's been outside for about 7 or 8 years, and now it's too far gone to use as a deck. So what I'm going to do, I've lifted it up. It's about 12 foot by 9 foot, so this is just a fraction of the timber I've got. And I'm going to lay that down, just lay it down flat, and then the conifer branches from the Christmas trees, I'm going to interweave that between the planks, hopefully create some air spaces which will kind of encourage the wood to break down. But as you can see, it's already broken down, starting to go. The end of that board's gone, it's just got the galvanised strap on there. And so when it's done, it's going to kind of, you're going to lose that bottom pallet collar almost. It's going to be halfway up that collar. So there's going to be a huge amount of organic matter, so it's really going to raise the allotment over the kind of water table, help the water drain away, and that will actually retain the moisture as well. While I'm here, just to show, I kind of salvaged the Christmas trees from the council's drop-off point down the road. There's another video on YouTube just showing that, but there's this little potted Christmas tree, Picea Super Blue C3 1999. Someone's bought that for Christmas and then just put it out for shredding, which I felt sad for. I don't really want a fir tree, but what I'll do is I'll probably plant it up somewhere else. I just put it in situ just to kind of keep it going, and then I'll take that indoors at Christmas and decorate. This is one of my can of worms. I don't like that design at all. On my other ones I've actually got a bit of marine plywood which I use as a lid, and it overhangs the edges, so when it rains the water actually runs off. But the problem with this one, water pools up on the lid and it drains them through the aeration kind of vents, and then it fills up the sump at the base, and then you've got the problems with taps and opening the tap and draining it into something. So what I thought I'd do, once again, this is a kind of hugelculture bed, so there's lots of wood, and I'm kind of using this as a soil feeding station. So the idea, any leachate drains through, that's absorbed by the wood at the base, and then that will actually break down, helps the wood to break down faster. So likewise, I've done the same with the second pallet collar bed here, but I just topped this one up with well, it's a mulch, but it's fairly rough still. There's kind of recognisable bits and pieces in there, so I'm using that just to build up the depth. And that was taken from one of my worm beds. It's not actually that old, but what I'll do is I'll get some nice compost, which is more further decomposed, and then I'll put that onto the top, so to mount it right to the top, and then once that's planted through the season I might add a little bit more organic matter. But yeah, so that's quite a nice volume in there, and you can just see the pallet at the base, and these are the two pallet collars sitting on there. So that's raised up another 8 inches underneath to there. And then this path here, last year I added lots of Christmas tree branches, scaffold boards, but obviously it's settled down and that organic matter's being broken down into the soil. So this looks more like worm castings than wood chip now. It's really quite nice stuff. But as I said, I'm really just trying to build up organic matter. So even though these are just paths, it's still like a sort of extension of the compost bin itself. So that's just some of the broken boards I just started to top up. And I got the fir tree branches in there. And what the fir tree branches are, they kind of, if you can imagine 2 bits of wood, if it's sort of flat straight on the other one, there's not going to be any air space. But if you get something like that in between, you kind of make some crude voids in there. And once the wood chip works in, you've just got a bit more aeration in there, and that helps it to break down. So actually the bees are out today, which is a bit of a surprise. It's so horrible yesterday here when I was at the allotment. Didn't stop raining all day. I was just burrowing in more material. But this is one of my worm feeding stations here. So I'll leave that one. There's a little bee being quite busy. I don't know how well this is going to work with my phone in my hand, but this is new to me too, so just bear with me. Yeah, so not much going on in this one. There's some smaller worms, a little bit of mycelium growing on the wood chip there. And this is one of, it's based on an eave growing grow bucket, but I've used that as a kind of sump with a drain actually into the bed itself. So that's just kind of activating some biochar in there. But you can see it's, yeah, the other one's a bit better, so I'll show you what's going on. That one's a bit more, been there a bit longer, but you can see there's worms in there already. They're doing their thing. Yeah, the bees are quite interested in this one. They go for it. Yeah, so you can see nice big fat juicy worm there, a couple of worms there. I kind of, yeah, you can just see charcoal. It's mainly just charcoal in here. But when I was here yesterday, the worms are already investigating. So this is this bucket here has got holes drilled into the base. I don't think there's much going on, but this is more like a kind of a longer term source of food for the worms. Yeah. So you can see if it focuses. Yeah. So these are worms that have just moved into this feeding station of their own accord. I haven't actually put any worms in there. So that's quite nice to see. So they're just doing their thing, and then they're working material down into the bed and down to the bottom of the bed where the hugel culture timber is as well. So that's just one of my reclaimed 25 litre buckets. So I'll leave that as it is and come back to that in a couple of weeks' time.